So today's topic is F1 helicopter footage, how it's done and all the secrets behind it, alongside some curiosities like how cameras on board are kept from getting unusable due to rain and how these helicopters could affect car performance. So stay tuned. F1 helicopter footage was first introduced to the sport around 2007, being kept in some races for TV broadcasters. But remembering at the time F1 wasn't really keen on sharing anything more than race and qualifying footage. It was used only in certain races where conditions were too harsh and where the weather was good enough for a cameraman to see a car going 200 miles an hour plus from a helicopter flying above the track. At the time, helicopter footage was really different from what we're used to seeing today. First of all, the helicopter actually stayed still in the air most of the times that the camera was shooting, and its quality was really questionable. Remember back then, wireless video transmitting wasn't really a thing, so F1 was one of the first pioneers to adopt it. Helicopter footage remained just a fancy and expensive gimmick, until in late 2016 when Liberty Media bought the Formula One group. New ways to share all of the action happening on track were being explored, and one of those was helicopter footage. And that's how we currently have it as a standard part of our viewing experience. TV helicopters nowadays are much better in a lot of ways than what was previously used. Formula One now uses AIRBUS helicopter with space for just about 2 people, the pilot and the cameraman. The rest of the space that would be present on a commercial helicopter is used to fit camera gear to transmit live footage from the camera to the internals of the helicopter, and then directly to F1's receiving end on the ground at around 3 GHz, which is an insanely high speed for that distance, almost like a normal Wi-Fi over hundreds of meters. The used camera is pretty special. It is shot over F1 Live, a 6-axis 360 degrees stabilizing camera capable of shooting in 4K while still maintaining an astonishing level of quality. No wonder this camera is also used for MotoGP, live broadcasters and even movie makers. If the camera sounds complex, it's simply because it is. Cameramen need to go through extensive training before they can use this tool, and it doesn't mean that they are necessarily good at it. You can always train with your own version of the camera, but that's going to cost you a measly $250,000 for the live version, and that's not even counting the helicopter and the equipment needed to use it. The only cameraman on board needs to be able to fully control the gimbal system to take the perfect shot while looking into a tiny screen in front of the windshield. So if looking through your phone while in motion makes you sick, this is certainly not the job that you're looking for. The cameraman does have the option to take a black cloth and put it around the screen in his head so that he can look at it despite all of the reflections. But it's not usually used, as they prefer to look directly at the track while working. While they try to make the camera function in the way they want, the helicopter's pilot must know where to go with the aircraft to get the perfect shot, else all of the work they're trying to do is completely ruined. This is why pilots and cameramen need to have a full synergy between them. When as soon as the cameraman tells the pilot what shot they're going to take, he needs to move into position as fast as possible so that the perfect moment isn't lost. Being in the air with giant blades spinning 2 meters above their heads, communication becomes pretty difficult. So they need to both understand how videography works and what they're going to do in the shortest amount of time possible. They don't have much time either, because 2 laps before the end of the race, they need to fly away in order to not disturb the fireworks ceremony to congratulate the winner. Further depicting how difficult this job really is, there are a lot of variables that are encountered while flying that are simply non-existent for cameramen on the ground, such as the aircraft's speed compared to the subject's car speed and the moment they start recording. So it's safe to assume pretty much none of the trackside cameramen could do this with the level that we expect while watching F1. Now, with the current technology we have, we can think of shooting in pretty much every condition if necessary, so the tools must be prepared for this as well. This is why, in most cases, when it rains, a small fan spinning at more than 12,000 RPM is put above the lens to keep the rain from fogging it up, making the really expensive flight useless. Other measures taken range from shooting in just one direction or not flying at all, where they are just for extreme cases and are always avoided when possible. An extreme example of when the TV helicopter flew regardless of the conditions was Spa 2021, a race so cloudy, rainy and foggy that staying in the helicopter was like being in hell. The conditions changed a lot, from heavy rain to just fog, then to heavy rain again, and the fact that the track is on the mountain made it nearly impossible to shoot anything decent. So, when the camera kept having trouble with visibility, for the first time in a long while, the TV director made the helicopter land on a nearby helipad. Helicopters are really important to Formula One. not just for the fans at home watching the sessions, but also to the stewards and the race director to understand the dynamics of incidents that are recorded on land with weird and unusable angles. One great example of this is Abu Dhabi last year, where thanks to a helicopter shot, we saw Hamilton turning in on Verstappen even though he was already in front to cut the chicane and gain an advantage. In order to not disturb the racing action with a modified airflow caused by the spinning blades, helicopters are required to stay outside of track-in zone where moving air isn't a big deal. And they also need to fly at a pretty high altitude and use some zoom lenses to shoot a live stream of the track so that they have as little impact as possible. You're probably asking yourself, but why helicopters if they're big, bulky, and require a lot of rules not to be a problem for racing on track? Why not use something more compact like a drone? To which we answer, have you ever seen how an F1 drone shoots? This is what it looks like. As you can see, even the pinnacle of motorsport is not ready for this technology, with its shaky angles and low quality shoots. But who knows, maybe one day it will be used again and we won't be able to tell the difference between the helicopter camera and the drone camera. In fact, this will probably happen sooner or later. With Formula One's plans to become carbon neutral by 2030, it's possible for the sport to start reducing its carbon footprint on the planet, and one of the ways to do so could be to completely remove helicopters in favour of all-electric drones, slowly developed and improved over the years. Also, because the helicopters are quite old, so they emit a high quantity of CO2. At the end of the day, even though TV helicopters are used to broadcast video, their job doesn't end there. They are a tool to the FIA to decide if an action on track was legal, a tool for the viewer at home to have a clearer view of what's happening, and a tool to the photographic industry, leading to better and better cameras to be produced for these specific circumstances. Even though F1 is clearly trying to get rid of the helicopter by implementing new equipment such as a trackside rope camera on the start-finish straights, what it means to the community is something we always take for granted, and it's something we will surely miss the day it's announced that they are removing it. Now it's your turn. What do you think about the helicopter? Is it just an expensive gimmick or an essential tool to what F1 means to fans all over the world? Let us know with a comment below, and don't forget to subscribe, because at 10,000 subscribers, we're going to buy a helicopter. No, not really, but you should subscribe anyways.